Hi, I'm Dennis at TeraFlex. Today this is a special moment for me because I get to tell you all about my LJ. This thing has been a long time coming. If any of you have ever been involved in doing a full-on Jeep build, you know it takes time. But I tell you what, it was worth the wait. So let's start in here with the motor. This was a bruiser conversion project for me. And I'll tell you what, those guys did an amazing job. Everything is so clean and sanitary on it. Everything's loomed up, tied down. Everything fits perfectly. It runs amazing. When they did this conversion, they used the GM computer in it, but they also kept my body computer that was originally in the Jeep. This is a 2006 LJ. The computer runs all the engine stuff, but this body computer, I mean, when I get in it, the doors ding when I open the door. The little mirror has the temperature still works in it. All my dash lights, all the gauges, everything works perfectly and it's all integrated. This is an LS3, a 6.2 liter Chevy bad boy motor here. They start out at like 430 horse. We took it over to the guys at Premier local shop here and had them dyno tune it for our altitude, and he picked me up an extra 50 horse, so I was impressed with that, and she runs good. We did aluminum radiator, upgraded to that to a 3-core, so I've run it around a couple of times and it doesn't get hot at all. It just stays nice and cool. We stayed with the factory fan clutch style blade on this thing, so I don't have to listen to the whiny electric fans. Sometimes you just don't have room and you have to do that. But the way Bruiser put the motor in, it gave me room to swing a prop, as we say. So that really keeps it nice and cool. So behind this LS, we've got a 6L80 transmission. So that's the 6-speed. So we'll show the shifter in there a little bit later, so that gives me the tap shift and everything. But while we're here, let's look at the front on it. We got the Warren Xenon S10 winch. These are just amazing winches, and I always like to throw that one on all my Jeep builds. It gives us the rope in it, so it's nice and light, and you don't get all the barbs and stuff in your hands, but those things work great. It's mounted to a Nemesis bumper. All the Nemesis body armor on the Jeep is all aluminum except the bumper, and it's actually a steel bumper. Turns out that was a good idea, looks like, from my last trip out. Steel bumper can take a hit and just keep on going. Let's look down the front of this thing while we're here. So we've got our Terra 60 axles in it, front and rear. It's kind of interesting how we did the lockers in it. The front, actually, I left a Detroit locker in the front, so it's just well, if you're familiar with Detroits, they're not totally locked all the time, but it does release if there's no pressure on it. So steering's nice, but I just wanted to have, I know that locker's going to work no matter what, and Detroits are good for that. We've got our heavy-duty tie rod system on this. So this is actually the JK and JL sort of style steering on it. So it gives us our big chrome moly inch and 5/8 chrome moly shaft on it. Use the PSC steering ram. This PSC stuff, I've been really impressed. I've run the PSC, just the full hydraulic ram with no mechanical steering at all. And I tell you what, this little ram setup with their box on it, it did the box as well, God, works just as great. I mean, I'm sitting there turning these 42-inch stickies, and it just turns great. There's no resistance. I'm really impressed with that PSC steering system on it. By using the ram assist and keeping my mechanical steering, it makes it so I feel a little more confident if I'm driving it on the road. So you're not have full hydro, it can go bad on you. You always have your mechanical linkage. Next up is Nemesis. Tell you what, we use, and I always put it on my Nemesis fender flares, their body armor and so forth. I love this stuff, it just fits. These guys make some really quality stuff. Well, for the TJ and LJ here, they made a high line fender kit for it. So that's what this has on it. It's also got the inner fender liners on it all the way around. We had to do a little modifying on them to fit our suspension. We'll talk about that in a minute. But so you've got the Nemesis Highline fender, they call it their crawler kit. It's got the Titan body armor, they call it down the side. The Billy rockers. These things, these are the real deal. Everything's aluminum, but these things have got an inner structure inside of them that you put that on, then you put this piece on top of it. So structurally, they're just really tough, and they can take a pretty serious hit. Oh, dang it. I guess I did that. I ran a rear fender flare, but I didn't put the one on the front. Everybody's like, you don't have a front flare? I know, but I just didn't want my flare out there. I'm going to wheel this thing pretty hard, so I just wanted to have that tire hanging out there that I wouldn't worry about a flare on it. But I do want to keep the dirt off the back of my head, so we just left this little flare back here. And then there's the body armor. So the body armor actually curls around and just covers the entire thing. It's all aluminum. So that just gives you a little more structure to it if you do touch on something. It's not going to put a bash in your Jeep. Raceline wheel. Came out with these wheels, and man, they built us a set, and check this out. So it has Raceline in it, and don't pay any attention to that. And just so you know, I did not cry when that happened. I really manned up on it. So there's that. But they did this powder coat on them, and they even put TeraFlex in them there as well. So these are called the Disruptor wheel. It's a 20-inch double bead lock. So you got the bead lock here and on the inside, so both beads are pinched in there. The real beauty of that is it gives you 64 bolts that you can tighten up when you're mounting your rims. Yeah, I think I did like 1.5 a night, and took me a week to get them all mounted up. So yeah, gorgeous wheels though. 20-inch. It's a 42-inch BFG sticky on it. These crawlers just hook up. I'm just barely getting them broke in, but I'm really impressed with them. Great wheel and tire package. You know, over here, there's our locking hub with the TeraFlex axles, and you can also see the big brakes actually hold this thing back. Not a problem at all. TJ's always struggled with brakes, and putting these 60s in it with that big brake kit on it, I can totally hold this thing back going down anything steep, whatever. It holds the motor back and everything. It's great. Next up, let's talk suspension here. This is kind of a prototype coilover suspension kit that we've been playing with here at TeraFlex. We've got it on quite a few Jeeps, but man, it's working out well. So this is just a big old strut tower on it. You have this much dimension to it because as your axles flex, your strut actually swings back and forth, so you got to have some clearance for it. So that's what that's about. The bar across the top, of course, is removable. If you ever need to pull the motor out or whatever, it gives you access to it. I've got a set of bypass Fox coilovers. These things, this is really a nice shock. Having that bypass part of it, what that means is you've got kind of a soft section, and then as soon as they try to collapse hard, it goes to a stiffer setting in the shock and stops you from bottoming out. So bypasses are kind of a cool little setup to have on your shocks. Okay, it's a long arm suspension. So on the long arm side of it, we use the Alpine IR bushings in all the arms. So that's the bushing that the inner sleeve on it rotates, and but it's all a rubber bushing on it, so I don't have to listen to squeaky bushings, you know, creaking and popping on me. I don't have to do any maintenance on them. They'll just sit on there and do their thing, and man, they flex out great. They really work well. We use the same belly pan setup that comes in our LCG kits. That's the same TeraFlex LCGs that we've been using on the TJs and LJs for years. One of the best flexing lifts out there on the market. So we took that, and on the back we just did a little bit different. Instead of using a super long arm to reach clear up there and grab that bracket where our normal control arm mount is, we shortened up the arm a little bit to give us some clearance for the rocks and so forth. and we made a special bracket that you can relocate up and down the frame wherever you want it to be. So the upper and lower arm tie to that bracket. It's a prototype bracket that we've been playing with, but man, turns out it works really well. Okay, for the upper arms on the rear of these LCG kits, we've always used this triangulated bracket that comes over the top of your rear diff. Then the arms triangulate out to the frame. And that goes to that new bracket we did. So there's the upper triangulation. So that gets rid of the track bar. So it just lets that rear axle do its thing. It flexes out great. When we scoot these things back, you can only go back so far if you want to keep a gas tank in the back. That's of course unless you realize that Genrate makes an awesome aluminum tank with a cutout in it for the diff that lets you scoot your axle way back and still maintain your tank down underneath the Jeep out of the way, so it still gives you all that storage space inside. So that's the Genrate tank under there. It works out great. When we did the stretch on this, the suspension came out, I think I'm at about 114, give or take, is what this came out at. I wanted to keep the rear of the Jeep, so I didn't want to do a comp cut on it. I still wanted it to look like a Jeep. So, but it still gives us a great departure angle in the rear. Back drivetrain, so we went from the 6.2 liter, then we go to the 6L80 automatic trans, and then we tied that to an Atlas, and we went to 3-to-1. And you say, why would you go to a 3-to-1? Well, when you got the horsepower, you just don't need that much low range. The 6L80 has a really low first gear. We got 538 gears in it, so we were able to just go with a 3-to-1. What that 3-to-1 lets us do is rally the sand without being in such a high gear that we just tack out the motor. Still crawls great though. Okay, interior. First thing we see is the PRP seats. We did these blue to tie into the wheels, of course, so that it ties into my shirt. Always want to be coordinated with your vehicle. Front and rear, we did the rear seats in it. The rear seats are kind of a little bit smaller, but kids are about the only thing you want to ride back there anyway. It'd be kind of tight. When Bruiser Conversions did the conversion, they built this cool console for me. So this is actually a Camaro shifter, and this is the tap shift on it, so you can swap the bumps, change gears on it. So this is the console on it. So let's see what else. We got the CTS3. This is just a monitor. I use that to tell me what gear I'm in. It'll give you all the temperatures and so forth on it. That's an Edge product. That thing works really well. It just ties right into the Chevy side of the thing, so it gives me all my motor stuff. There's our Atlas shifters on it, and the rest of it, the gauges, factory gauges, they all work with the Bruiser Conversions when they did that. Both computers that work together on it just work through that. Gee, even the mirror lights work. I mean, seriously, this is amazing. Oh, cage. This cage is this is another Genrite product. So this is their Genrite. It's their full cage that goes clear back. We did the spreaders on it. We also did the bars that tie the seat to the cage. So yeah, we're pretty much well protected in here. Nice cage. They did a good job on these. Last up is the top on it. This is the Best Top Trex top. These things are, it's an incredible top. Fits amazingly tight and has no braces and bars. You know, it's like eating fish with bones. You don't want bones in there. You want this thing just open and clear. And it works great with this Genrite cage. Yeah, I had to do a couple little modifications on the bar clamps that normally hook to your stock roll cage, but it wasn't a big deal. I just trimmed those a little bit. Those fit on there. That clamps back. Has supports that come in the top, so it stretched it out nicely, hooked it through the back. This thing doesn't rattle going down the road or anything. It doesn't flap. The cage actually pushes up on it in a couple of spots, so I eliminated a couple of the bars that came with it, but just actually one bar that came with the top, and then it just fit on there. So if you guys have a Genrite cage, know that the Trex top will fit. It fits tight. Looks good. All right, that's about it. I was going to wait to do this till I got some of the graphics put on it. They were going to do some blue stickers and stuff on it, but just couldn't wait any longer. this thing. I finally had it out a couple of times, and it is so fun. So I really appreciate the support that I've gotten from TeraFlex. Did all the suspension, the axles work on it, the bruiser conversions with the motors and so forth, and all of the wheels with raceline wheel. They make the Jeep, you know, you get that blue wheel popping on there. That 20 inches of awesomeness is pretty impressive. So that's the 06 LJ. If you guys have any questions, throw it down in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. I think we kind of went through most of it and got you covered. So I'll talk to you next time.